pillars, a 3-day party. I break the walls and kill us all with holy fingers. Gouge away, you can gouge away. Stay all day if you want to. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, straight from the bowels of our underground lair, where we have not been on vacation for the last month, like some people in Delaware or Hawaii that we know of. How you doing?
I don't know who that would be. I don't know anybody in Delaware.
Who needs to work?
I don't know anybody that I want to know. Who's in Delaware other than a couple of bankers meeting with certain presidents or senators.
Right.
Other than that.
Or out in Hawaii where certain vice presidents are with former presidents.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
On the same, I think they left like the janitor and the cook in charge while they were gone.
Well, maybe, but I bet the janitor and cook would do a better job. I'm okay with that.
That's true.
By the way, at some point we're going to have to not podcast from our underground lair. We got to come out in the open at some point.
Maybe we should, we haven't done like a forum or something in a long time. Maybe we should have like a public forum kind of podcast thing.
Public podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe that'd be a good idea.
Well, it's something to ponder.
We could have some guests. We could.
We're in our last season, so we got to do something special for that.
Really? Are we now?
Well, I have to keep the demand high if I'm going to sign another. If I'm going to get franchise tagged again, we'll see. Jay, weird news coming out of Washington about this student debt stuff.
Yeah.
The president who has punted this for a 1965 law that created this college loan scam that we're still under right now. This has already been, not paying your student loans has already been, I believe, suspended 6 times now since 2020.
It's not enough.
President Trump did it twice in 10 months. Oh, excuse me. I believe President Biden's already extended it 4 times now.
Oh, I'm sure he has.
And I don't know what is the rationale to continue going. But the rumor is that he is either going to cancel $10,000 in debt by executive order, which would, I'm guessing, would get overturned by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because the president does have the authority to cancel debt in times of hardship. And usually that's been done on an individual case. Somebody has cancer and they have student loan debt. A lot of times it's forgiven. Somebody, there's a reason for it. It's not just massively done by the stroke of a pen.
I didn't think we were in hard times. We're not in a recession, they tell us.
No, a personal hardship is what I think. Yeah, they're not. They've changed the definition of that.
Yeah,
and they'll change it. They'll reinstate the old definition when a Republican is president again. Then we'll have the old definition in there. But so the latest thing now is that they're supposed to be reinstated in September. And so we await with bated breath Mr. Biden to wake up from his coma and decide what to do. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Whatever he does, win, lose, or draw, number 1, will not help him in November. And number 2, won't satisfy anybody. Those are my 2 predictions.
Right.
Because ultimately, if you do nothing, he pisses his left off.
Right.
If he cancels everything, the Supreme Court will overturn that.
Yeah.
And your debt will be reinstated, folks, so don't celebrate. And if he tries to steer some middle course, everyone will hate it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and again, let me ask you a question, Jay.
Yes.
Why won't anyone address the real problem, which is the affordability of college and why it costs so much money to go? And on top of that, why all of these careers require so much schooling?
Well, you can't go into any career now without having a strong foundation in social justice.
Okay, but still, what? Yeah. But, the government will give you $100,000 to go to any school you want to. You want to open up a small business, they won't give you $10,000 to start that.
Right.
Which is weird again. So, I mean, again, of course, no Small Business Administration loan is being forgiven.
No.
We're not doing that. Oh, no, no, no.
In fact, I don't know if you heard this. I heard on the Blaze this week that Small Business Administration has its own police force. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You got to go in there and bust up those small businesses, if they're
Roscoe
not
and Enos
paying their loans back quick enough.
We're going to come in here. Flash running in there to grab those tax forms.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting 87,000 new IRS agents. How about 87,000 more Border Patrol? If we can afford that, how come we can't defend our own border against these invasions that are going on in our country? But let me just say this. Jay, I mean, you have a degree, and what is and you've had kids in college.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, why won't anybody address the real problem, which is why is college so damn expensive? What is driving that? And why won't anybody do anything there? Why won't anybody fix that? Look,
everybody's making a killing. That's why. All the money coming into these places, you think they're going to step back all of a sudden and go, hey, I'm sorry, we're making a little too much money here. We better drop the price.
Right, but it shouldn't be up to the schools to do that. It should
Right.
be, these are public institutions, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So the public should have some say over, these are not private companies. They get
Right.
huge endowments. You know what I'd like to know? I'd like to know how Hillary Clinton could charge a university $100,000 to give a speech. I want to know the university that pays for that and how they justify that in their tuition.
Absolutely.
And nothing is under scrutiny. Nothing's ever under scrutiny.
But look at our university system. It is almost exclusively on the left. You don't have any really. Hillsdale College and maybe a couple others that are conservative or mostly conservative. Everything else is on the left. So you think the Democrats are going to step up and there's some back scratching going on where it's like, okay, you train people up in this way so that we can get voters, so that, we can stay in power. And then there's more money that goes to the universities so they can train more people up as socialists so that we can get reelected and have power. And it's just a big triangle. And then the Republicans sit in the corner and they don't do anything. So it is like you're surprised about that.
Well, I'm not surprised that either side. I mean, I just don't understand. Why isn't either side? I can understand the Democrats wanting to create, fountains of youth here that are mind-numb robots. But again, is it in their constituents' best interests to pay so much money and owe so much money? Because to me, if I'm a Democrat, I'm saying, okay, I want, minority communities to be to succeed more. Yet $100,000 for college is a huge barrier to anybody succeed. So why would I want the huge cost when how are they going to succeed if they don't have any means to do that? You're just going to recycle the same people in poverty.
But that's why they keep crying for, we need free tuition. We need, they put the carrot out there, but they really have no intention of
But free college is also a red herring.
Yeah,
Nothing's free.
No.
You're just giving somebody else the bill.
Right. The billionaires will pay for it, just like everything else. Right?
Yeah.
I mean that's how they could justify it, because the billionaires are going to pay for it.
They'll do.
Yeah.
Bill Gates will buy another farm and write off the taxes that he has to pay.
Right.
Or pay himself in investments where he gets taxed 14%.
Right.
That's total nonsense. I don't know. I don't know how you can make a move on this without addressing why we're here. Jay, you forgive student loan debt today. Where are we going to be in 10, 15, 20 years? Another generation. We're going to be in the exact same spot we're in now.
Well, I hope that within another generation, people realize we don't need the universities except in a few exceptions, and that people should go to trade schools. They should go do other things. And
if you don't need a license to do something, you should not be in a college or university right now. And I'm going to add something else too. If you do want to do that, what's wrong with our community colleges? What's wrong with...
Well, they're just as left as anybody
else.
Okay,
but fine. They're left for a quarter of the price. I went to North Hennepin for 2 years and did my core classes. My wife did the same thing. And I walked out of there with an associate's in arts degree, and I owed nothing.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that was 1998. Okay, so 24 years ago. But I mean, and you're right, the trade schools and stuff. I mean, why aren't we addressing the worker shortages that we have right now?
Yeah.
You want to be a semi-truck driver? You can earn $100,000 doing that. You don't need a 4-year degree. You know, You want to be an electrician, a mechanic. There's a lot of these shortages existed before COVID. Don't give me this COVID bull.
I know.
This was here 3 years ago.
Trades have been suffering a long time.
Yeah, it's gotten exacerbated. Okay. But there's been shortages for, I would argue, decades in some of these fields.
Yeah.
Because of this push to go to a 4-year college.
Everybody's got to go.
Yeah, that was pounded into my head when I was at old Cooper High School in the 90s. Oh, you're not going to have you're going to be cooking fries at McDonald's if you don't have a college degree.
Now you can't say that.
I can't?
No. Well, maybe to a white person. When I taught Minneapolis, I was told specifically that I could not tell somebody that they would be stuck flipping fries because you can't say that to certain segments of the population.
Why not? It's the truth. Go walk into McDonald's.
Truth mattered.
Go walk into McDonald's. You see every walk of life working in there.
Yeah. You tell me the last time the truth has mattered.
George Washington's farewell address.
Yeah, probably. That's probably
How about that?
Yeah.
Maybe the most far-sighted man in the history of the world, George Washington.
Oh.
Him and Winston Churchill. I would put those two as 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the truth, of course, the truth doesn't matter. But, I mean, you know, and let me say something else. You forgive student loan debt. You know what you also do? Jack up inflation.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have more money in the marketplace, just exactly the opposite of what you should be doing.
If government's going to start paying this off, I mean, what's to say that a $40,000 tuition doesn't become a $60,000 tuition because the money's there?
Well, right. And they're just going to assume at some point the government will just forgive it. At some point they'll just pay it off.
Yeah.
So now now everything will double.
Yep.
Look at what's going on with electric vehicles. You know, they're shooting up in price right now. You know why? Because there's a government tax credit. There's even more tax credits than ever.
I know.
We've been subsidizing that damn thing since the Yom Kippur War in 1967. I mean, we've been subsidizing. I mean, go back to the 70s. I mean, Jay, you've heard of driverless cars and things like that.
Absolutely.
That's the wave of the future, blah, blah. And maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think that's in our lifetime, but that's my opinion. But go back to the 70s and you get the same speech about the electric car. Oh, we're going to be out of oil by 1990. Oh, the San Andreas Fault's going to blow up.
Oh, yeah.
All the same BS you heard over and over and over. None of it's happened.
Yeah.
And yet,
the driverless cars will happen, but
I think it will happen whether a majority of people will want them or not is ultimately the consumer's king.
Right.
We don't buy your dumb electric semi-truck. You know, look, I mean, at some point, look, I know all these, this is the great thing about environmentalists. We're going to have electric semi-trucks everywhere by the year 2075. It's such a crisis that in 50 years, we're going to blah, blah, blah. They make goals that nobody can be held accountable for anything.
Yeah, but, you know, it just, we have to fight back. You know, we have to begin to stand up and do what we need to do from our side so that they know that there's a resistance to some of these things. Because you're right. I think ultimately that's what most of us still know is capitalism or free market, or call it whatever you want.
There's some variation of that.
Right.
I don't know what a free market is anymore.
But enough to the point where I think if there's enough pushback on these people that are going nuts, that maybe Ford and some of these other companies aren't going to get rid of the gas, combustion engine.
My question
by
is
2030.
My question is, well, they're not going to do it by 2030.
They're all saying that they are, except for Bugatti.
They're full of crap. They're getting free money from the federal government.
Absolutely,
that's why they're saying it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if the price and all that is not there, the old Henry Ford adage comes: I'm building a product that my employees can't buy.
Yeah.
At some point it'll be, it's, you know what'll happen at some point is another company will come in. If there's demand for it, somebody will provide it. Somebody will make cars that with based on fossil fuels. They absolutely will. I don't believe them. I think they're full of crap. That's just me. I think they're saying saying what they have to say to get the government off their back. But I think when push comes to shove, I just don't think they're going to make those cars. I just don't.
I would love to see a new car company, come and build an even better, combustion type.
They're going to have to self-finance because they're going to have problems getting loans.
They're going to have problems getting loans.
And maybe their customers will
unless
have problems.
they put their plant in some of these states that are now banning ESG, like West Virginia.
I could call Ron DeSantis. I bet they would put some 80-year-olds to work down in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would happen. And I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that I'm not shocked, but I'm surprised that the auto unions aren't fighting this because, quite frankly, that's all they know is building combustion engines. They don't know. They're going to have to relearn their jobs, or they might lose their job. There's going
to be a lot of layoffs.
They're going to lose their job to some 25-year-old hotshot. I mean, I wonder.
It's going to be computer techs instead of people assembling.
Exactly.
Sprockets and rods.
How about places that work on cars and things like that? They're going to have to revamp every single thing they do. It's not so simple. That's why I think it's crap. I just think it's bull. But, I think they're saying what they have to get the Democrats off their backs till the Democrats lose. Yeah. And then they can go back to doing what the hell they want.
Well, I hope so. I hope that's the way it goes. I know there's a lot of international pressure. I know there's a lot of international pressure in banking. I know there's a lot of international pressure as far as getting rid of the dollar as the currency of the world. It's coming from China, but it's also coming from a basket of countries that include like Brazil and others, India, who, if they were. This is what's strange. Both India and Brazil loved President Trump. And if he were to come back,
you remember when he went to India?
Oh, I know.
He packed like it was like the University of Michigan Stadium came to see him.
Yeah. If he were to come back, if the Republicans can actually hold the Democrats for the next 2 years after these elections, big if, and President Trump is able to come back in, I think we will see a reprieve of some of this stuff, because some of these world leaders are going to be like, all right, sanity is coming back. I think with a Ron DeSantis type too, something like that, is possible. But unfortunately, unless we see that, if we see the same crazy monetary policy continue to happen.
And we've seen it under Republican and Democrat. I mean,
absolutely,
saw it under President Bush. We saw the globalism, the free trade.
I think people are done with the globalism from the conservative side.
I don't know about
the most part.
Well, depends how you define that. But I hear what you're saying, but I also
they're there. Yeah,
they're definitely there, and it's funny how they're embraced by the mainstream media now, whereas 15 years ago they were all called neocons and
right. Well, the left's a bunch of warmongers too, so go figure.
It's a bipartisan thing. It's the elites versus the rest of us.
Yes,
I mean
that is the problem.
Is. Yeah.
It is. It's the elites who want world control against the rest of us, and the sooner we realize that and begin to stand up for ourselves, the better we're going to be.
It'll be too late. That's my honest opinion.
Well, it may be. But
every great empire crumbles from within.
I will tell you this: I'm going to go down fighting. I'm not going to lay down and die.
I don't know. I might go fishing. I don't know why. I just, I'm going to get to the point where it's kind of like getting beaten or abused. You lose your fight after a while, and so it's kind of like, somebody else wants to dominate the world, they can. I'm just gonna go fishing. I just don't care anymore. So
really,
I mean, I care, but I don't care. I mean, I can. Some things. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I'm pessimistic, and I again, world's biggest cynic, and it's the truth. So, Jay, speaking of being a cynic,
hold on now. You never guessed the song.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
You're not going to guess.
Well, you got to sing it again. What's it called?
What's it called?
I
That's
thought
part of
you
the-
thought you'd give me that away.
No.
Give that away.
No.
It was what?
Come on to you.
It was what? Bed of Roses or something. It was. What was it?
Yeah, it was Bon Jovi's Bed of Roses. You got it.
Dwight Yankum? Was it Dwight Yankum? I don't even remember it. So
Yeah.
Beat It.
Yeah, it was Beat It for Michael Jackson. You're all over it.
That was Michael Jackson.
Yeah. It's funny. This fits in with what we're doing today again. A 3-day party. I break the walls. They make it seem like a party. They make it seem like it's fun. But then, and kill us all with holy fingers. They got their own little religion going, and it will surely kill us all if we don't stand up to them. You can gouge away. Stay all day if you want to. They're gouging away at our eyes, our common sense, our ears, our you name it. They're gouging away at it. And today's news will
Yeah, I know that song.
You do know that
You
song.
can gouge if you want to.
No,
right?
That's no. You can dance if you want to.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was gouge.
No, it's not.
All right, who the hell is it? Is it
Gouge Away by Papa Roach.
Gouge Away? Really?
Yeah. Gouge Away by Papa Roach. Yeah.
Papa Roach. I know them.
Yes.
I heard of them.
So.
Couldn't
yes.
tell you anything else, but I've heard of them. I'm so unhip. It's just amazing.
That's all right.
Jay, once again, Minneapolis, the laughing stock of the nation.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, to see the reaction to this and to see one side be very, very quiet, kind of say nothing, because I really haven't heard much defense of this.
No.
At least not outside the Minneapolis school district. But this idea that if we are going to... And first off, Minneapolis claiming they have 300 open staff positions with school starting in, a couple of weeks now or even less. But if they're ever overstaffed, not only will they put a sign up saying honkies need not apply,
Yes.
but they're the first to go. And you got to love, first off, I'll hand it to lawyers and all the wordsmithing people. They got to have somebody from the Clinton administration had to have a hand in this writing. It just looks too think tankish, focus grouped, how they word this stuff. But basically, the whites are out. Whites not wanted. If layoffs ever happen in Minneapolis in their school district. Jay, your thoughts?
Well, that's racist.
Oh, no, it's not. What happens to white people? It's never racist.
Right. No, see, this is anti-racism. And we've talked about this on the show before. Anti-racism is when you can use discrimination to right the wrongs of the past or the perceived wrongs.
Okay, but
of the
let me
past.
stop you there.
Yes.
What are the perceived wrongs? I mean,
Wow.
if you have a staff of teachers, some are black, some are white, some are Hispanic, whatever they are, and I've been taught by all colors in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the perceived wrong that is being righted?
Black people have a hard time in this country because honkies own slaves.
Okay, so
they need to get special treatment because the left thinks they're not as talented, not as smart, not as able because of this disadvantage. I'm using air quotes here. When we all know, we've seen people of color in just about every position imaginable, earning any kind of income. Are there disparities? You might say that there percentage-wise there could be, but really, is that the fault of whitey, or is that the fault of cultural norms, or is that the fault of
Well, there's a lot.
Individuals? That I tend to lean on that. I'm a big individualist
There's a
personally.
lot of reasons. I mean,
There's a lot of reasons.
Breakdown of the family probably being number
Yeah.
one.
Oh, where'd that come from, Democrat Lyndon Johnson?
Yeah, that's where it started. That's where the government replaced the black father.
Yeah.
But if you look at, I'm just going to look at AP News here. This is a story by Steve Karnowski, freaking Polak. You know, Polak wrote this. This is from August 21st. Minneapolis teacher contract, race, language ignites firestorm. And of course, because he's Polish, it's all written backwards. I had to interpret it because it was all written backwards. Get your cheaters on, you old man. When Minneapolis teachers settled a 14-day strike in March, they celebrated a groundbreaking provision in their new contract, which was meant to shield teachers of color from seniority-based layoffs and help ensure that students from racial minorities have teachers who, quote, look like them. Hey, you know, think of the hidden horrible language there, Jay.
Yes.
I mean, imagine a white person saying, yes, I want teachers that look like me. Get this black guy out of here, and I want a teacher that looks like me.
Right.
I mean, how can you have a racially blind society, which is what everybody says they want, but that's bull,
Oh, absolutely.
and yet, again, say something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, you see it right here. I mean, again, it is that anti-racism mindset. It is, hey, you know, we've got to right the wrongs of the past and discriminate if necessary to do it.
I mean,
and so
it's bad enough they only do layoffs on seniority.
right, but they're going to stop that. I mean, that's what it says.
They're going to stop it for people of color, not for white people.
Right, exactly. Shield teachers of color from seniority-based layoffs.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
and
but
later in the article, the person sort of denies that they're doing this, and I'll get to that in a second. But conservative media outlets have erupted with denunciations of the policy as racist and unconstitutional discrimination against white educators. One legal group is looking to recruit teachers and taxpayers willing to sue to throw out the language. Again, it's the wrong approach here, but
it'll end up in the Supreme Court.
Probably 10 years from now, yeah.
Yeah.
The teachers union paints the dispute as a ginned up controversy where there's no imminent danger of anyone losing their job. Well, whether there's imminent danger or not, somebody at some point will.
Yeah. Absolutely they will.
The same people who want, listen to this knucklehead, the same people who want to take down teachers unions and blame seniority are now defending it for white people, said Greta Callahan, president of the teachers unit at the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers. This is all made up by the right wing, and we could not be more proud of this language. So what's made up?
Yeah.
What is factually incorrect about what, quote, right-wing media has said?
Yeah. I mean, is that not what's happening? And they've been loud and proud about this. Even the teachers union itself has been proud of the language that.
And let me tell you something. What they say is really, really concerning. This is, again, from the same article. That's, quote, shields teachers of color from layoffs. But listen to what they say next. The contract language does not specifically say that white teachers would be laid off ahead of teachers of color. Well, wait a minute. Did this article 2 paragraphs ago say the opposite?
Yeah, it did.
The contract exempts, quote, teachers who are members of populations underrepresented among licensed teachers in the district, as well as the alumni of historically black and Hispanic colleges and of tribal colleges. Around 60% of the teachers are white in the district, while more than 60% of the students are from racial minorities. So you could say white people are a minority in Minneapolis, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think you're good.
Listen to this next one. You talk about a racist paragraph? Listen to this. Advocates say students from racial minorities perform better when their educators include teachers and support staff of color. And it's especially critical in a district that suffers from the stubborn achievement gap. So, we have more teachers of color then, Jay.
Yeah.
I better see that achievement gap get better. What do you want to bet? It stays right where it's been for the last 75 years, where the public schools, where none of this crap has moved.
Yeah.
We've thrown money at it. We've lowered the class size. We've bussed the kids everywhere. We've done a gazillion things, and the achievement gap has gone nowhere.
Absolutely.
Because there are dumb kids. There are lazy kids. Their parents, and it's been that way. It was that way when I went to school.
Yeah.
And back then, I had teachers who openly called those classes the bonehead class. That's what they were called.
Yeah. Well, when you take away like gifted and talented programs, and you take
Of
away,
course, because they're not racially diverse enough.
But here's the thing. There are very few people that want to be in a gifted and talented class that aren't. In fact, they usually are the ones that go, oh, look at those nerds. Look at those geeks. They don't care. They don't want to be in those classes. They laugh at them. Yeah, come on. The people in the middle always want to drag the people on the extremes into the middle with them. They don't like when people excel, and they don't like when people struggle either. And so instead of giving people a way to help themselves up, they're just going to pull them on in. And those who try to excel, they're going to pull them down. I was in a business for a while where the guy that was in charge of things used to say this, that oftentimes, life is like a bucket of crabs, where if you have a bucket of crabs and you have crabs that are trying to crawl out of the bucket, the crabs will reach up and grab another crab and pull it back into the bucket. And people are often like that when somebody tries to excel and do well and get out of the bucket, they reach up and they grab them and pull them back down. And so I think that is a lot of what is going on the gifted and talented end of it. And with the other end, yeah, you don't want these people to feel bad. So it's everybody gets a trophy. You're pulling people into the mainstream classes that have no business being in the mainstream classes.
Well, here's the thing I don't get here. I mean, and I guess I can't disagree with that. But listen to this.
Yeah.
Callahan, the president here of this, you listen to the cryptic language here, called it, quote, just one teensy tiny step towards equity. That doesn't begin to make up for the many teachers of color quitting the district in recent years because they feel underpaid and disrespected. No, you know what? Why did you quit the Minneapolis district, Jay? Was it because you were underpaid and disrespected, or was it because of the terrible decisions by administration and school district?
Well, to be fair, when I started Minneapolis schools, they were already looking to get rid of my position, and I didn't know it. So I was going to lose that. I was a sacrificial lamb before I even knew that's what it was. But my decision to leave teaching altogether was yes, because administration is terrible. And it's worse. The things that I was seeing in Minneapolis back then, it's in the suburbs, in outer Minnesota, greater Minnesota, it's gotten that bad, and then some. A lot of the things that I saw back then, I'm seeing now, and I'm seeing even worse things. And so, yeah, I saw the writing on the wall, and I'm like, I don't want to be any part of that.
And that's so sad. I mean, it's so sad that you had so much to teach people and couldn't do it. It just stinks.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Oh, good.
Lindsay
Fantastic.
West, a fifth grade teacher at Clara Barton Community School. Wonder how many of these people know who Clara Barton is.
None of them.
0. Yeah, I'm sure the Civil War is not taught.
No.
At least not taught correctly.
And nurses are our heroes. Right?
No kidding. She was a white nurse.
Well, she was a wet nurse? What? White nurse. Okay. Yes.
Now, this teacher, quote, identifies as black and indigenous. So I guess that it's her choice how she identifies.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to identify as that tomorrow, Jay.
Black and indigenous?
Yeah,
or black or indigenous?
Yeah, either one. Maybe after lunch I'll change. The seniority language is one piece of a bigger mission of improving education.
Mm-hmm.
Wes said she feels strongly, I guess she identifies as a woman too, that students of color benefit from having teachers who look like them, but it's not the same for white students. She says that she's also seen diversity can empower white students. So, white students don't benefit from learning from people of their race, but everybody else does.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, just
right.
And where is your evidence of this? I'd like to see some, of course, typical public education.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel good, we feel bad. That's the answer to everything right there. We back it up with no facts, no results, no studies, no nothing. We just do whatever feels good, and that's the end of it. We have kids from all demographics having experiences with people of different backgrounds and different cultures. Can I say something here?
Yeah.
It's not why you're in school.
Right.
You were in school to learn the tools to be a successful adult, to learn to get a career, to learn history and math and science and English, and that's what
to become a well-rounded person so that you can be successful later in life.
Here's an interesting twist to this.
Yeah.
Minneapolis Public Schools interim superintendent Rochelle Cox declined a request for an interview. The object of this provision is clearly to lay off white teachers first, regardless of merit, based on the color of their skin. And that's a big problem under the Constitution and the 14th Amendment, said James Dickey, senior trial counselor at Upper Midwest Law Center, a, quote, conservative nonprofit. Well, why do they always have to throw that in there?
I don't know.
I mean, is Bill Gates's foundation ever called liberal?
No, it never is. It's just good as gold.
Dickey said his group is considered suing and has had a flood of Minneapolis taxpayers and some teachers, who probably will remain anonymous, contact them, say they are offended, blah, blah, blah. He argued, Andrew Crook, what a great name for a spokesman for the American Federation of Teachers, said that he didn't know of anything similar to the Minneapolis wording in contracts in other states, though he had some contracts provide exceptions from straight-line seniority rules for teachers in hard-to-fill specialties such as math and special education.
So once again, Minnesota is leading the way in absolutely terrible policies.
Well,
I mean, usually you hear this stuff come out of like Seattle or something first.
well, I mean, we're catching up to Seattle. I mean, we're catching up to how bad some of these other big cities are getting. My question becomes this. I mean, how long before this becomes the norm in damn near every school district? I mean, when the largest school district in a state does something, even if it is Minneapolis, I mean, everybody pays attention to it. I mean, I think if this happened in a school district with 4 schools in it, I don't know that, and had 3 minority teachers in the whole district, I don't know who would pay much attention to that.
Yeah.
But the fact that this, I mean, what do they have, 30 schools in Minneapolis? I mean, they got to have something like that.
Yeah, that's
quite
probably
a few.
Pretty accurate.
There's quite a few. I mean, what is the effect of this? And I think that's what all of us really need to be concerned about. Where does this go? Where does this stop? Does it stop?
Well, that is the $1 million question, and I think that you're going to have some school districts that are going to be all over this. We've seen that they don't really care what people think. Like Robbinsdale schools, I think, will be considering this sooner than later. I'm not saying they're going to pass it. I think they're going to consider it. I think latecomers to that party are going to be your Roseau district, your, Forest Lake, even, places that are outside of the cities, Proctor, all of that. But that doesn't mean they won't talk about it.
The problem, though, is many of those places may be red, but the people running the district and running the union.
Yeah.
Remember, that's who comes to the agreement here. It's not. It's administration with a union and school board. So if those people are all on the same page, okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to. You're going to have. Could it be? There be a. I wonder if there could be a nod, wink, wink policy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that those things are usually spelled out in a contract.
Right.
But I mean, does this go to? I mean, you mentioned everybody talking about it. Does it go to police officers and their unions?
Yeah.
Who definitely are not politically usually aligned with a lot of teachers' unions, but they're pretty fanatical about keeping their people.
But what have we heard lately about police? We need to hire more minority police. We need to have more,
Yeah, they never say good police officers.
No.
They never want that. No, we don't want that. We want mediocrity.
Right.
But they got to be the right. They got to check all the boxes.
But granted, now this isn't coming out of the police unions. This is coming out of like your cities. This is coming out of your counties, where they say we need to have a more racially diverse law enforcement. But can they bring those unions over in the midst of negotiations to give up something else? Because I'm sure you didn't have to twist Minneapolis's arm to get this, but at the same time they're in the middle of a 14-day strike, so this gets offered up. Oh, this is great. The strike's over.
Well, or it becomes a bargaining chip for something else. It becomes, you give us this, we'll take this. You give us that, we'll take this.
Yeah.
I mean, those things can happen too in negotiations. They always do. So, I mean, how do you, I think my concern is that this happens everywhere. I mean, this happens in every district. It could happen in City Hall. I mean, you don't need a union contract. This is the other scary thing. I mean, what if this happens in business or in city government to county government? They start laying off the white people for you. They don't have to. They don't have to. You don't have to have a union.
No, you could start with municipal liquor stores and golf courses and
companies
pools
could do this. Could a company like Target or somebody just say, okay, we need to do layoffs, but they got to be certain.
And if you don't have a policy, if you don't have a union, it makes it so much easier to do under the radar.
Right. The company can make something up.
Yeah.
Give some BS as to what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where I see these things going. I mean, this is so open. It's so blatant that if there's no pushback on this, if this is allowed, okay, you're going to see this everywhere. You're going to see it in the banking industry for sure. You probably already are. But everybody is saying the same things. We're going to hire people of color. We're going to regardless of qualifications, we're going to hire more women. We're going to diversify all this BS. I mean, at some point, everything's going to be upside down.
Well, remember, S is the social part of ESG, right? So, yes, you score big points and improve your social credit score when you go and you do these things, for a government entity where certain states have gotten bad ESG scores because they haven't played ball. And it's made those states hard to get funding when they need it for certain things. So they could certainly do it to a city or a school district or a county to try and push them around.
Well, and how about, I'll throw another one out there. We have statutory cities in this state that are subject to Minnesota state law. Can something be written into state law?
Absolutely.
I mean,
They can do whatever they want.
how do we know? Omnibus bills get through. Nobody knows what the hell's in them.
Yep.
So how do we know something doesn't? Look at what happened with the cannabis stuff.
Right.
I mean, oh, that's in there. We find out 6 months later. I mean, whoa.
Right. Which again would only affect public jobs. I don't think you could pass a law for private industry. That would get turned over pretty quick.
But you can backwards. Government contracts get handed out to private companies all the time.
That's true.
I mean, they can require. Hennepin County does it.
Yeah, and you look what they did with the mask mandates and stuff. I'm not so sure things are so black and white anymore either.
Yeah, and how many cities have threatened to declare racism an emergency?
Oh, a lot of
counties,
them.
And they're going to declare it an emergency and then do anything they want to. I mean, this is pretty frightening. And
yes.
I mean, the fact that, and I'll tell you what else is frightening, is how little coverage the Twin Cities media has given this.
Oh, I know.
They've given it very little coverage. Nobody's asked the governor for his opinion. He's over hiding somewhere. Nobody has brought this up whatsoever.
It's been pretty one-sided, too. I mean, they talked to this lawyer, but, I mean, other than that, I couldn't tell you. If I was to guess, based on the coverage I've heard, I would say that even the white teachers in Minneapolis are all on board with this. There's no way that can be the truth.
They're afraid to speak out, probably. Probably is the answer. I think they're probably kowtowed in silence, which is weird since their jobs are on the line from the very people who are supposed to represent them.
Yeah.
Literally put language in their contract to discriminate against them. You know, but I mean, it is hard to find, much in the way of coverage from any of these local entities. I mean, it's just weird that I shouldn't say it's weird. I don't know why I'm surprised, but
well, it's unprecedented.
Which underscores why I don't understand why it's not being covered and debated and, brought to the forefront. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, you're right. This isn't an everyday occurrence. It is unprecedented, and we're having no discussion of this. Now, on conservative media, you're hearing the talking heads talk about it and rant and rave, but when it comes to representatives from the Minneapolis school district, parents, kids, I mean, nobody is saying anything, or it's not getting covered anyways. They're probably somebody saying something somewhere, but
yeah, I'm trying to find KSTP, KARE 11, anybody who's covered this, and I'm really not getting much. Of course, they're basically acting as job applicants for complaining that there's so many open positions and what are they going to do, and but so they're acting as job recruiters for the schools, but that's about it.
Yeah,
and it's just amazing that this is literally just not getting a shred of any kind of coverage. I mean, I'm telling you, Minneapolis City Council's looking at this, saying, this is our way to go after the police. And let me tell you something. Why isn't anybody also addressing the underlying problem here? It is qualified police officers and teachers of color. Okay?
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody going, you know what? We need to get more people into these fields. Forget who's working there now and keep your eye on the ball. To be a police officer, you got to go through an academy. A lot of them have a military background. I mean, it's like I said, it's not cooking fries at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Where you're trained in a half an hour. These people go through CPR. They go through a lot. Psych evaluations. Of course, the teacher has to have a degree.
Yeah.
And we talked at the beginning of the program, about college degrees and the possible barriers to that and so on and so forth. And yet, once again, nothing any of these people are doing is fixing the underlying if you see it as a problem, and nobody's also talking about having good teachers, good police officers.
Right. That doesn't matter.
Never matters. It never matters. They never talk about that. You think the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers would ever put language in there like that? Not a chance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this idea, right-wing media is picking up what? They're the only ones that are covering it? Well, so be it. What difference does that make?
None. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, much of the, coverage of this, the New York Post has covered this.
Yeah.
RedState.com has covered this. And once again, it is just teachers union officials. This is from RedState.com. Extremely proud about agreement to lay off white teachers first, adding, quote, "It's a non-story."
It's a non-story, huh?
Incredible.
Yeah. Here's a great article. It's fair and balanced from News One. And you know what I'm talking about? Did you
No,
say?
I did not.
Conservatives big mad. What? Conservatives big mad that white teachers in Minneapolis could get laid off before teachers of color. You can't even write a headline. No wonder you stink. Right-wing conservatives are outraged at a new agreement between Minneapolis Public Schools and local teachers union that could result in white teachers being laid off before teachers of color. That's fair. That's right down the middle there. Oh. Conservatives are mad. We're the only ones that care. Conservatives, right-wing news pundits, and some teachers are calling the deal racist and unconstitutional.
Well, and I'll tell you another thing too. You're pitting one teacher against another. That's
Absolutely.
another, thing that I think is a huge, huge problem. Is you'd be very pressed to create that kind of tension there. I mean, imagine working at a job where if more. I know seniority is not always the best way to determine this stuff, but you've done something one way for all this time.
Right.
Now you're being penalized for your race, something that you obviously can't control. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, seniority isn't always the best way, and I have for a long time been critical of the way that teachers get tenured and how no matter what you do, you can't get fired as a tenured teacher. And I understand why it's there. You want to give people the protections to say whatever. You want them to have that First Amendment guarantee that they can speak out on unpopular ideas and not have to worry about losing their job. But when it comes to, you're white, you can lose your job. Tenure at that point goes out the window. And
every state has their own. Here's the weird part about tenure.
Yeah.
I believe it's 5 years in Minnesota, and then you
Yeah.
reach a certain tier.
Right.
However, if you look at college, where tenure began, I mean, that's where
Right.
the idea came. You don't get it after a certain amount of years. You earn tenure.
Right.
You may get it in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You may never get it.
Mm-hmm.
Tenure with the public schools has been opposite. You just hang around for 5 years and hump a lamppost. Very limited on what, and again, you have to blame districts for some of this because they've agreed to it. So once you have it in there, it's hard to get it out of there, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So they have to take some responsibility for it. But the thing I don't understand, if I were in a union, and I don't have a problem with employees collectively bargaining. Some people do. I don't. But I would never want to be. I personally wouldn't want to, because I believe that, if I'm better than the guy next to me, I better be getting paid more.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, I can't control what my coworkers do. I can only control what I do. But my answer to this is, why do they want to retain teachers who suck? That's the part I can't understand, because, if I were at a job and there were 50 people there, and 10 of them sucked, I'd want to fire those 10 as fast as I possibly could. I don't want to argue for them. I don't want them there. I want them replaced. Why is it that protect those employees, insist on doing that, will burn at the stake to do it? I don't get the thinking.
Well, maybe this News One article gives us some insight into that. It is easy to see this as an attack on white teachers, if that's what you want it to be. But the fact of the matter is...
Oh, so it's my truth.
Right. Fact of the matter is, it's not that simple of a situation. The majority of senior teachers in Minneapolis are white. Layoffs in the past have disproportionately affected teachers of color. If they are never prioritized, how can historical discriminatory practices ever be remedied? This isn't about firing white teachers over black ones. This is about trying to shift a system that has never prioritized teachers of colors.
There you have it.
Yeah.
It's all about social engineering. It's not about the kids.
Right.
I thought it was about minority kids learn better from minority teachers. Isn't that what we read in a different article?
Yeah.
I guess it's not about that anymore.
No. Equity. Equaling out the number of teachers across the racial spectrum.
You know what? Bend over and I'll show you your equity.
Oh, boy.
And, of course, nothing in these teachers' union contracts, I'm sure, about student performance, anything like that. We're not going to worry about that. We'll just blame the state.
Right.
So, Jay, how long before the Robbinsdale district proposes this in there? When's their new contract up?
I don't know. I guess that's the time when you really got to start looking for this stuff.
It'd be next year, because the new biennium would start July 1st, 2023. So I assume that's when negotiating would start on the next 2-year deal.
Wow.
Yep. So, of course, they can negotiate anytime they want to. They don't have to wait. But
right.
They don't know what their funding's going to be, so they probably won't start. But I assume this language like this will be proposed. And I say it's pushed very quickly.
Well, just remember, Robbinsdale Federation of Teachers for a long time had Asada Shakur on their homepage with a quote from her, the cop killer.
That was living in exile.
She was living in exile. She escaped from jail and went to live in exile. She was found guilty. This is this is not a rumor. This is not the jury's out. No, she was found guilty of killing a police officer, escaped jail, and fled the country to Cuba. This is the person you're holding up. And
is she still quoted on the district's website?
I'd have to look and see if she's still there. But we know also that they brought in old Bettina Love. Bettina to teach all of their teachers over MEA about how to be anti-racist. So it's
this is totally off the subject.
Yeah.
I was watching something on Jeffrey Dahmer, and somebody called in, some guy who escaped from his apartment. This lady called in and said, "Yeah, this guy's running down the street. He's butt naked. He's butt naked. B-U-T-T," because they had the words.
Right.
I don't know why. It's hard to laugh when you're watching something on Jeff Dahmer, but I just remember butt naked. Maybe I got butt naked. That's what I remember. So.
Yeah.
Now we discovered that she's related to Tupac, right?
Yes.
Somehow.
Yes, indeed. She is. She's like an aunt or something like that.
Well, I don't hate people because you don't control who your family is. So
Right. But, yeah, I don't know. That's no good. Well, it looks like maybe Ola Sada Shakur is off. Instead, it's in solidarity, supporting Minneapolis Federation of Teachers Local 59. So that's what's on their front page. Look, they're already supporting it. Hey, how many times have we done this where it's like, oh, how long? Or how about this? How about, oh, look. You know, we have this ability to call it before we have the answer. We've been at this that long. Yep, in solidarity, supporting Minneapolis Federation of Teachers Local 59. Way to go, RFT. So there's pictures. What is that guy? He's got his arm around some lady at the Crystal Learning Center. And on some piece of paper, they wrote, Robbinsdale educators support you, Minneapolis. And then this guy that looks like, I don't know what, has his fist raised in the air with a pencil in it, like he's going to stab the lady in the front. I don't know. Weird. Plymouth Middle School, Robbinsdale Spanish Immersion, Cooper High School, Crystal Learning Center, Robbinsdale Spanish Immersion, Lakeview. You know what? If you have your kids in this district, maybe you want to think about finding a new district. Huh. There's nothing good that comes out of this district. I'll tell you what, they might as well empty out the schools and start over.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either. But they're definitely on board. So this is something that the union is going to look into, I would say. Wouldn't you? I mean, if they're already saying they support Minneapolis?
Well, I mean, I understand that they're going to support their union no matter what, but I don't know. I mean, probably, I assume they're going to support and get in whatever they can. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah. What is that guy doing? He looks like he's going to stab something.
That's what I just said, yes. I'm glad that you proved my point.
He don't look happy, does he?
No, he doesn't. He looks nuts.
Why are these people always miserable?
Well, wouldn't you be if you were on that side of the equation?
Well, maybe, but
I don't know.
Gee whiz.
The world owes you something. You know, Meeting Minute Archives, they have nothing from before August of 2020. I was trying to see if there was something on here other than just, but they're probably just in the formative phases of this, you know. Yeah, I would be worried. They're obviously in favor of this. And I am willing to say that they're probably not the only ones.
Oh, goodness gracious.
What?
Good. Let this go to St. Paul next. Duluth.
Yeah.
You know, the usual places.
Yeah. I'm sure that this is going to spread like wildfire in the places where it can, you know, and I mean, how long did it take us? All of 30 seconds to find out that, yeah, somebody else is already on the bandwagon for this. You know, and I'm sure, you know, that Education Minnesota is probably on board with it too.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that they, again, nod, wink, wink.
Yeah.
They're certainly not going to oppose it, and they're not going to.
Well, we've seen what they teach in their MEA classes and their license renewal classes, and
yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's really bad, and I think that you know, if they start pushing this with some of the local unions, I'm not sure quite how all that works as far as like the autonomy of the local unions versus Education Minnesota, but
Well, I mean, they have Education Minnesota's website has whole pages on racial and social justice. Um, they have a whole guidelines on negotiations, guidance, tools to
yeah,
do so. Some of it you have to actually be a member of to get into their secret getaways there.
right.
But, I mean, I'm sure that um, I'm sure they talk. I'm sure the heads of the unions are all on the same page with a lot of this. I mean, especially when you have a strike. I mean, when you had a strike where it was fairly long, and it was, I mean, a couple of weeks is, to me, in the middle of school year is a long time to have a strike.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to figure that something that passes the biggest union is going to be. I mean, how many times have we talked about it, Jay, of whether that's ranked choice voting, tobacco 21, a stupid idea to defund the police
yeah,
before everybody's talking about it, and before
Right.
it's monkey see, monkey do. And, there's the school boards association where they get together and do this stuff. So I think you're going to see much of this for quite some time now.
right. This will be the new front, and they haven't made peace with parents either. And this is what's crazy. I mean, they keep pushing all this stuff, and parents still are not happy. They continue to try to make terrorists or extremists out of parents, and how far can you push parents until, I don't know.
Well, the only thing that ultimately is going to change it is alternatives to public education.
Yes,
I mean, a majority of kids, I don't know what that percentage is, that would have to leave the public school system before something would really change. Because ultimately, they're going to get their money no matter what.
right.
They have the power to tax. They get money from the state. They get money from the feds. That's not going away. Now, it can be affected by enrollment and things like that. But, that money's not going anywhere. So they're going to be there no matter what. The question becomes, the only way to force change is to get X amount of people out of there.
Yeah,
And I don't know what that percentage has to be. I know that in the Robbinsdale district in the past, it's been 25 to 30% of the kids who live there do not go to Robbinsdale schools.
right.
Now, they could go to a public school in a different district. That's true. They could go to a charter school, which is kind of a quasi public school. They could go to one of the religious schools, St. Rayfield's or something. They could be homeschooled. They could go to a private school. All those things are possible, but I don't know what do you think that percent has to get to?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, I don't know. It seems like schools are already feeling it a little bit from all of the students that have left during COVID and not come back, and homeschooling or whatever option parents chose for them.
And the parents that have seen the light in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Their kid might still be there, but the parent is way more seeing what they're learning.
Yeah. But I feel like even despite that, and I don't know what's under the surface, but you don't see the schools cracking. It's almost like a game of chicken. Well, we're going to be able to keep promoting all this craziness.
If anything, they've doubled down
Yeah.
on it. I think they've doubled down on it.
Right. I believe that they have too, So at what percentage? I don't know, this government, and you can always tax people more to cover your butt, right?
Yeah.
So at what point, because it's not a business, because it's not reliant on tuition costs, or something like that, you are not accountable for what you do. Teachers are not accountable. And if you have a school board that allows them to do these things, that what are you going to do? If parents don't come and demand that there be change, and if voters don't make a change.
Well, here's the other problem. Even if the parents do, how often do they listen to?
Well, never.
And you still need school board candidates. How many times do people show up at a meeting, then come election time, they disappear?
Yeah.
I've seen that happen a million times too.
It's true.
So, you can say you want change all you want to. If nobody throws their hat in the ring, not going to be any change.
Right.
So
I don't know.
Public schools will use. It's funny that if they have more students, they want more money. If they have less students, they want more money.
Right.
That's the weird part. That they need more money because they have fewer students. So it's
right.
It's kind of funny.
So I don't know. Do they already feel the pinch? I mean, probably not, because they're being propped up by government. Obviously it's got to affect their average daily membership, things like that determine the funding for these schools. But I think also with the state of the government such as it is, that they're going to be able to say, okay, well, we know why this is happening. We don't want to punish these schools for this because parents are the ones that are driving this. And so we need to get them more funding. We need to get them more money, and at what point,
let me ask you a different question.
Yeah.
At what point do teachers fight back as individuals?
Goodness.
Because you're seeing a lot of them leave the profession.
Yeah.
And at what point do they say, we're not teaching this? What point do they say, you don't represent me anymore? What has to happen for that to crack? Because ultimately, a crack in the union is really what would drive some of this too.
Yeah, I don't know. They've put up with so much. And if they haven't done it yet, these teachers sit there in the unions. The unions tell them, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that.
Got to vote for this person.
Yeah, and the new Minnesota teacher licensure requirements, which we haven't really talked about that, are really whipping a lot of people up. And I know that if this passes, it's going to be a big deal. They're saying that it's going to institutionalize teaching Marxist philosophies and all of the critical theory and gender studies and all that kind of stuff. It's going to institutionalize all of that. And if teachers will not teach it, then they're gone. They won't get licensed.
Is that a Minnesota thing? I haven't heard of that.
Yes, that is a Minnesota thing.
It's proposed.
It is proposed. Yes, it's making its way through the House right now.
Even though they're not in session?
Yeah, it's sitting there, obviously till they come back up. Of course, I can't find anything critical of it, even though I know it's out there, because I've seen it. There's just nothing, if you Google it, of course, they're going to tamp all that stuff down. Yeah, I know people are writing negative things about it, and unfortunately, and in fact, I got to give him credit. Scott Jensen just came out. He had attended a private meeting, found out all about it, came out the next day and put out a YouTube video saying that you have to stand against this. So it wasn't even COVID related. So I got to give him props for standing up for that. I guess, it's
pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Forced agenda for Minnesota teachers. This was as of July 7th. Just let me look at this quick, because it does some blog aitkenage.com. Oh, maybe it's from up in Aitken area. The public schools and their unions in the United States have, for the most part, blah, blah, blah. But this is specifically the proposed new requirements for a teacher or public or private school to obtain or maintain a teaching license in Minnesota have been updated by the PELSB and are ready for adoption.
Oh, yeah, that's the Public Education School Board Licensing Board.
Yes, yes. Or license, yeah. Once put in place, the new requirements fly in the face of all conservatives. Conservative teachers have a hard choice to make. Teachers will be required to demonstrate the ideology and practices of a Marxist worldview. Basic Marxist principles such as critical race theory, fluid sexual identity, and gender politics are now going to become the standard in Minnesota public schools. Teachers will be required to incorporate social and emotional learning, we've talked about that on this podcast, into all classes. Be inclusive to reflect diversity, including all sexual identities and all gender choices. Affirm and incorporate identity politics, including race, systemic racism, and so-called white privilege. In summary, from the above-mentioned article, every buzzword of the woke agenda is to be understood and taught/promoted in the Minnesota public schools. Basically, the new standards are designed to turn every teacher and every school into an indoctrination center for the secular far-left worldview. So that is what we're up against, I guess. This guy referenced some other article, but I don't see it here. So if that's true, I mean, yeah, it's just a matter of time. I mean, you're going to have conservative teachers leaving. I don't know. I assume that you'll have more conservative parents yanking kids out of schools, but this covers private school as well. Because in order to get licensed, you have to agree to these things. Oh. So our education system is a mess. And how many people are they going to have to lose? I don't know. 25, 30, 50%. And even at that point, I think the point
what about those kids there too? I mean,
yeah.
You know,
I think the point where they start to notice and start to get worried is when it's not going to be about the money, because they're going to get the funding. They just will. But it's going to become when there are more kids learning things the way they are and not under the indoctrination than there are, when there's a good sizable chunk of kids that aren't getting indoctrinated, that's when they're going to begin to worry. Because
and by the way, where are the decent people on the left?
They're out there.
There are decent people on the left who do not believe this crap.
Right.
And they're just kowtowed into silence.
Yeah.
They have
they're probably just as scared as the people on the right that aren't speaking out.
No offense, but they have no courage. Zero. It's like something's wrong, but you just go along with it because that's the politically expedient or easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of them on the left. I think there's a lot of Democratic parents who aren't happy with their public school. They may believe in the public school system, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But look, everybody who goes to a private school is not a Democrat.
Right.
Or not a Republican, I mean.
Right.
Everybody who goes to a religious school, they don't all vote one way.
No.
So those people are, maybe to a lesser degree, but they're there. Where are they? Why don't they ever speak out? I mean, it's like a so-called moderate Muslim. I never hear any speaking out there.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, I'm sick of talking about this. I'm just tired of it. It's too depressing.
Yeah. Well, we have a long road to go here, so.
Well, maybe you think so. Since we have a long road to go, why don't you inspire everybody a little bit? Community Solutions once again presents Styling and Profiling, Jet Flying, Limousine Riding, Wheelin' Dealin', Son of a Gun, Jason Donald Bradley, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th Junior. Take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, Jason Donald Bradley is on your podcast. I may put up with that name. That's not my name. All right. I have a good Swedish heritage that I need to defend and protect. Oh, how do I turn that show into gold at the end? I don't know. Things are bad, and there's still enough of us that aren't standing up. And if we knew what was around the corner, if we understood that, I mean, we are on the verge of like huge food shortages. We are on the verge of losing our kids to an education system that is looking to corrupt them. We are on the verge of losing the value of our money, losing our retirement savings, having our social standing ruined by these ESG scores. There is so much that we need to take stock of because it's not going to get any better. We cannot wait. Human tendency is that we hold off as long as we can. In fact, what does the Declaration of Independence say? That men will suffer as long as things are sufferable. I mean, paraphrasing there. But, you know, things may be sufferable, but why do we have to wait until they're so bad that it is next to impossible to do the heavy lifting necessary to resuscitate things? I don't understand it. When we realize that something maybe isn't in the best of shape, you know, there's a ton of you that, oh, I got a ding in my boat. I better buff it out. Oh, there's a scratch on the deck. I better restain this thing. Oh, you know, kids left a bunch of crap on the floor. I better pick it up. Well, guess what? People have been leaving a bunch of crap on the floor of our country for a long time, and we're just letting it sit there. It's somebody else's job to pick it up. Somebody else's job to pick it up. Somebody else's job. Don't worry about it. Sit down. Things will be fine. You'll see. Things will turn around. New president will get elected in a couple of years, and everything's going to turn around. Blue wave, red wave, it's all coming. Everything's going to be fine. We have to stop thinking in terms of blue and red. We have to start thinking in terms of elites that want to change this country so that they can have ultimate power, and the rest of us who are going to become serfs if we don't stand up and do something about it soon. Because they're not going to play fair. They're not going to hold anything sacred. No, the ends justify the means. That is what Saul Alinsky taught. That is what they believe. That is what they practice. The ends justify the means. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how dirty they play. Doesn't matter any of it. So what are we going to do differently? I mean, up to now, it's been nothing. Up to now, we have allowed ourselves to suffer just believing that things are going to get better. We have our hands over our eyes and our fingers in our ears. That's maybe hard to do at the same time, but you catch my drift. Instead of taking charge over something that we have absolute control. So, what are we going to do differently? We have to think this out. And we cannot sit in a place of wishful thinking. That's never going to happen. These times require men of action. They require women of action. They require patriots that love our country, that will stand up for our Constitution, that will say, no, these are not antiquated ideas. These are not antiquated ideas. What they want to do is get rid of the Constitution and put these administration people in charge. They want to make the judiciary worthless. They want to be able to kick the legs out from under the lawmakers, and they want everything by fiat. They want to put a strong man in charge. And they're willing to do anything to accomplish it. If we're not scared, if we're not that we need to be afraid and trembling and have cowardice, but we need to be motivated by fear into a place of courage, into a place of standing. And that's the difference. We have to stand. When no one else will stand, we have to. We've passed all of the opportunities for you to sign up to run for an election in the 2022 cycle. You're stuck with the candidates that you got. I hope they're good ones. Because if they're not, you're going to have another 2 years of misery till we can get back to the polls and elect some more people. But if you're running for something, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for stepping up and making that sacrifice and giving it a shot. For those of you that haven't, these people need help. They need help with finances. They need help with volunteers to help them hand out literature, to hold backyard barbecues, to give them support, to take a lawn sign, to help hand out lit. Did I say that already? Maybe I did. What they need from you is to know that they're not alone. So if you can give a helping hand, find out who believes like you, who has the same mindset and is running in your area for school boards, for county board, for city council, and ask if you can help them out. Right now in this season, that is the best thing you can do. So, take our podcast, share it far and wide because of the information that we provide you on a week-to-week basis. We're here and we're for you. We're here to help win this fight in Minnesota, but to do it, we need numbers. That's where you come in. You can get a hold of us if you notice there's something going on in your community, or if you notice there's some opportunity to help get some people involved. Get a hold of us. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com, and we will make sure that we can help you out to the best of our ability if that's possible. And we just want to win. We want to see people win, and we want to see this changed because we can put the brakes on. We can turn around and go in the opposite direction. It is possible. And that's where you come in. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to